The peace of that crisp morning shattered like breaking glass as sirens ripped across Silver Pine Lake. I froze on my newly built dock, still clutching a box labeled kitchen, fragile, as two police cruisers barreled down the dirt road. Dust swirled in their wake before they screeched to a stop beside my moving truck. Before I could make sense of any of it, a woman in a blazingly pink visor stormed toward the officers, waving her clipboard like she was leading a military charge. A whole pack of neighbors trailed behind her, some still in pajamas, drawn in by whatever drama she had just set in motion. "That's him!" she shrieked, jabbing a perfectly manicured finger at me like it was a laser pointer. "He's trespassing on private property. Arrest him immediately. He's been here since 6 a.m. disturbing our peace." The older officer, gray streaking his hair, blinked slowly. His younger partner was trying, badly, to hide a smirk. "Ma'am," the older cop said patiently, "can you explain what exactly is going on?" The woman, who I would soon learn was Carol Peton, self-appointed queen of the Lakeshore Estates HOA, puffed up in righteous fury, her hot pink tracksuit straining as she planted both hands on her hips. "This man is illegally occupying this cabin," she declared. "No permits. No duseresaschen." Already in violation of 17 HOA bylaws. She snapped open her clipboard like she was presenting evidence in a courtroom drama. I set the box down, pulled out my phone, and held up my digital deed. "Officer, my name's Drew Sullivan. I own this property. Closed on it last week. It belonged to my Uncle Frank." Carol's face went from pink to deep eggplant purple. "Impossible," she barked. "Every property on this lake falls under our HOA. I oversee all new residents." He never applied. The officer scanned my documents while Carol ranted. Finally, he looked at her with the calm resolve of a man who had dealt with far too many Carols in his lifetime. "Ma'am, this gentleman owns the property. Unless you have evidence of a crime, there's nothing we can do." "But he hasn't paid HOA dues," she screeched. "He skipped orientation, and his truck is blocking the scenic view." Her complaints got shriller by the second. The younger officer stepped closer. "Ma'am, is his property actually part of your HOA?" "Of course it is," she snapped. "Everything within a mile of Lakeshore Estates belongs to us." I shook my head. "Actually, no. This cabin was built 40 years before your neighborhood existed. My uncle never joined your HOA." Her rhinestone sunglasses dropped slightly as her eyes tightened into slits. "We'll see about that, Mr. Sullivan. Nobody makes a fool out of Carol Peton. Nobody." She spun around and stormed away, neon sneakers squeaking across the gravel. Some neighbors lingered awkwardly. An old man offered a sympathetic nod. A young couple quickly avoided eye contact. I could feel the battle lines forming. Minutes later, the officers left, offering polite nods and what sounded suspiciously like a whispered "good luck." Carol, however, didn't budge. She camped at the edge of my property with a folding chair, a tiny table, and a thermos radiating vanilla latte. In her lap, she held a massive telephoto lens camera, something more suited for safari photography than HOA surveillance. She snapped pictures of everything. My truck, my boxes, even the sandwich on my porch railing. "That's improperly stored food," she announced. "Health violation. Possible bear hazard." I stared between her and my turkey sandwich. "Carol, it's a sandwich. That's President Peton to you," she snapped, scribbling aggressively on her clipboard. "And that's another violation. Failure to address HOA leadership with correct titles. $50 fine." For the next 3 days, Carol became a one-woman demolition crew aimed at my sanity. At exactly 7 a.m. each morning, she arrived with new infractions. My dock was 2 inches too long. My trash cans were the wrong shade of gray. The movers had left tire tracks on the gravel. "These are serious violations," she insisted on day 3, shoving a stack of papers at me. $900 for unauthorized dock usage, $600 for non-compliant refuse containers, and $1,200 for community road damage. I stared at the legal documents, all written in Comic Sans and decorated with clip art. Carol, I've told you, I'm not part of your HOA. These fines mean nothing. Her laugh was sharp and rusty. Oh, you sweet summer child. Lakeshore Estates governs the entire waterfront. Your uncle played rebel, but I've been president for 6 years. Things have changed. She wasn't wrong. Things had changed, but not in the way she thought. That evening, I started digging. The county clerk's digital records went back decades. What I found nearly made me choke from laughter. Not only had my property never been under HOA control, but their entire little empire was built on illegal ground. Their private beach, on state-protected shoreline. Their boat launch, constructed illegally on wetlands. Their scenic walking trail, built across land they didn't even own. And then, my favorite discovery, the smoking gun. Email chains between Carol and previous board members plotting to expand the HOA by intimidating non-members into voluntary compliance. By sunrise, I had all the ammo I needed. The State Environmental Protection Agency wanted to discuss wetlands violations. The county commissioner wanted to talk illegal construction. Carol had launched a war, but it was about to turn hard in the opposite direction. Within days, the Department of Natural Resources demanded explanations about restricted lake access. While state agencies moved silently behind the scenes, Carol went into full meltdown mode. One afternoon, I returned from a grocery run to find my dock wrapped in bright orange. Tape crisscrossed like a full-blown crime scene. A laminated violation notice slapped against my gate, fluttering in the wind like it couldn't wait to ruin my day. Bold red letters screamed, "Immediate violation of Regulation 473B. Unauthorized watercraft mooring." The funniest part? I didn't even own a boat. But Carol? Facts never stood between her and a power trip. And this time she wasn't acting alone. Oh no. She'd assembled what she proudly called her compliance committee. 3 women cloned in pink visors and matching tracksuits followed her around like some sort of cult with clipboards. They took shifts patrolling my property line, documenting my life like some painfully boring reality show. On Tuesday, they cited me for excessive smoke emissions from my burger grill. On Wednesday, I hammered a loose board on my deck boom dash, unlicensed construction without permits. But Thursday was the grand finale. Carol stormed up the hill with a decibel meter like she was about to bust some illegal rave. She pointed it at my dock and watched me walk. 82 dB, she declared proudly, as if she were holding up a chest full of buried treasure. That's above our peaceful enjoyment threshold of 75. I just stared at her. Carol, that's the same volume as a garbage disposal. Are you seriously trying to find me for walking? She raised her chin. It's not walking. It's aggressive stomping with intent to disturb. She waved the meter around dramatically. And I have 3 witnesses. Her committee nodded together in perfect sync. 3 little pink bobbleheads glinting in the sun. That was the moment something inside me snapped like a dry twig. I documented everything. Every fake citation. Every ridiculous accusation. Every photo. Then, I launched my counteroffensive. The first inspector arrived a week later. Carol all but sprinted to him, clutching her clipboard like a holy relic, until he introduced himself from the State Environmental Agency. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as he measured the HOA's beach area, photographed their illegal structures, and took soil samples from their boat launch. Then more inspectors arrived. Then the county surveyor. Then the Public Access Committee. Each visit chipped away at Carol's confidence. Every day, her once perfect pink visor drooped a little more to the left. Finally, the HOA called an emergency meeting at the Lakeshore Estates clubhouse. I decided to show up, not as a member, but as a proud, concerned neighbor. The room buzzed with anxiety as Carol gripped the podium, trying desperately to control the narrative. "This is targeted harassment by our newest resident," she shouted, pointing at me like I was the villain in some courtroom drama. "He's bitter about our reasonable fees, so he called these inspectors to intimidate us." A man in the front row raised his hand. "Carol, is it true the state is fining us $50,000 for wetlands violations?" Her smile cracked. "That's Under negotiation. A woman stood. And the cease and desist order for the beach? My kids play there every summer. Temporary setback, Carol said quickly. My husband's cousin is a lawyer. Will appeal. I stood. May I address the board? Carol's glare could have stripped paint off a wall. You're not a member. You don't belong here. But the treasurer raised his hand. This affects the entire lake community. Let him speak. I walked forward with a tidy folder. I've brought copies of the original lake surveys, the state findings, and the actual legal boundaries of your HOA. I passed them around. For years, this association has claimed authority over properties and public land it doesn't own. That includes my cabin, 3 other vintage homes on the North Shore, and nearly 2 acres of protected state waterfront. The room erupted, neighbors shouting, board members flipping through documents as their faces drained of color. Carol slammed her gavel so hard the head flew off and splat into the lemonade table. Lies, she screamed. He forged those papers. He's in league with the government. This is a conspiracy. The treasurer held up one of her emails. Carol, this is from your account. You literally wrote, and I quote, establish dominance over non-compliant shoreline properties through persistent enforcement action. That's taken out of context, she sputtered. The subject line, another board member added, says, Operation Total Lake Control. Chaos. Then Janet stood up waving paperwork. I kept every fine she gave me. $600 because my kayak was the wrong shade of blue. $400 because my welcome mat was too whimsical. And $800 for wind chimes. They're just wind chimes, she added, as the crowd erupted in angry laughter. Tom from Unit 12 shared his aggressive garden gnome citation. Sally from the corner lot had been fined for attracting non-approved birds to her feeder. One by one, years of pent-up frustration detonated. Carol's empire, built on fear and pettiness, was collapsing. The court hearings were brutal. The judge didn't hold back. The Lakeshore Estates HOA had violated multiple state regulations. They had 60 days to remove structures from protected land and were barred from claiming authority over anything outside their actual legal lots. Total fines, 175,000 pesos. But the knockout punch was the judge's final sentence. Due to evidence of intentional misrepresentation and harassment of non-member property owners, Ms. Carol Peton is hereby barred from holding any HOA leadership role for 10 years. The room froze. Then Carol shrieked, a sound sharp enough to crack glass. You can't do this. I built this community. I am the HO. Security moved toward her as she lunged at the bench. Her pink visor flew off mid-scream. Her husband scrambled to hold her back. 10 years. 10 years? The judge slammed the gavel. Ms. Peton, you're in contempt? Additional $5,000 fine. Carol collapsed like a deflated balloon, pale, trembling, speechless. Meanwhile, her once loyal followers quietly slipped out of the courtroom, not daring to meet her eyes. And just like that, the Queen of Lakeshore Estates finally lost her crown. If you enjoyed this insane HOA showdown, hit that like button, drop a comment, and share this story with someone who loves a good neighborhood meltdown. And don't forget to subscribe to Neighbor Wars HQ for more unbelievable real-life battles between neighbors.